The biggest thing that I'll say, that I've seen in that first step that Mark Davis took in hiring you and bringing in Nikki Fargas and operating the Aces organization as a professional team, which we had not seen very much in the WNBA. With that, now we are seeing this trend of the WNBA only hiring coaches that have had experience in the NBA. And I believe that you were kind of the catalyst of that because of your success, because of Nate Tibbetts' success, because of Natalie Nakase's success. I mean, they're all, Natalie sat on your bench for a number of years with the Aces, but she had some experience with the Clippers as well. What can you say about past players? Because you being the first WNBA player to win a championship as a coach, what can you say about the league in hiring former players? Because we're seeing that in the NBA and we're seeing other coaches, that played in the NBA that are now coaches. What can you say about that in the WNBA? Because we don't have many former players that are sitting in that seat.
I just think the value has to go up, right? Like, value my playing career. And I think that was one thing when I went over to the NBA. Nobody's asking these questions if I had a 16-year NBA career. But like all of a sudden, because of my gender and because I played in the W and not the NBA, all of a sudden my basketball career doesn't count towards my time in an arena. I mean, when you start adding all these years up, I'm going on 26, 27 years in either a WNBA arena or an NBA arena. That's a lot of basketball. And I think, I felt like sometimes on the men's side, it was like, well, she didn't play in the NBA. It's like, well, how many coaches are actually have played in the NBA that are coaching now? Not that many. There are some, obviously, and some very successful ones. But just valuing that experience, I think has to go through the roof. The work and the detail that a W player puts in is the same as the NBA. Your guys' workouts and how you work and how you go about your professionalism and how you attack a scouting report, how you attack an off-season workout. It's the same. And I think uh, people recognizing that for what it is, which is it's basketball work, and I don't care what gender you are, like you put in that work, you're gonna learn, you're gonna get better, and it should be valued. And putting, now people are starting to put their money where their mouth is, which is great for everybody.
The perspective, we had a conversation and, amongst many times on some restaurant or something. I don't even know where we were in the world, but we had a conversation at dinner. And I remember you saying something to me about when you were the coach, when you were, being looked at as a coach candidate in the NBA and you were a finalist for Portland. I remember talking to you before you went down to Orlando Magic, all of that. And some of the conversations would be like, well, what about the locker room? But those
Right.
same questions aren't then asked to male head coaches because male head coaches, it's a thing in the WNBA. It's a thing in college. Nobody ever questions like locker room etiquette or what are you going to do when you walk in after a game? Like nobody says that. And with that, it made me think of all of the other barriers or obstacles that are in the way for a female to finally get a shot at an NBA job. I mean, we've seen
Mhm.
Dawn Staley got interviewed for the New York Knicks. Was she a serious candidate? I don't know. I wasn't in the ownership meetings. What is it going to take because I'll be honest, as a competitor, I was pissed that you went to the Aces because I knew you were going to come in and they were going to win a lot of championships. Um, but also, I thought you were, and you still are to me, in my eyes, the one that could actually sit in that seat as a head coach in the NBA. And it's unfair, like you said, for me to put all these other stipulations on all these other women when men get the job that aren't qualified all the time. But what is it really going to take, organization wise, person wise? Because again, I'll say it again. I thought you were the person because of Pop as well, because of the
Mhm.
Spurs organization, but also just because of you.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, Candace, it's not a matter of if there's candidates out there that could do the job. There are. That's not the issue. It's if you're looking for a reason not to, you can find it, right? And whether you want to point to the locker room. By the way, I don't go in the Aces locker room. It has nothing to do with gender. Like the locker room, whether it's a NBA locker room, a college locker room, male, female, like it's a very private place, and it's a very, I don't know, it's a sanctuary, if you will. I'm not trying to go in there and mess with people's rhythms or routines. Like, you do what you got to do, and I'll see you at 38 on the clock, you know? Um, but I think if they wanted it, it would be. I don't know if they really want it. And I think the issue of, oh, can women lead men? Leadership knows no gender. Just like character and bravery and courage and resiliency. That stuff, you have to go through stuff and earn that stuff, and you build it up over time. Um, and those are the things that make you really a successful coach. Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to go in there and they're going to have pretty solid X's and O's. It's can you make the appropriate timeout? Can you draw a play to get your players look? Can you get them to stay on board when everybody wants to jump ship? Because it's not looking good, it's not feeling good. And I think those unifying factors are what make great leaders. And to me, I mean, women are doing so much more important things than leading basketball teams. They're leading surgical rooms. They're leading leading platoons in our armed forces. Like, there's a lot of really great things that women can do. And honestly, it's the NBA. I mean, when they want it, they'll get it because there's people that are ready. Right now, I could sit there and say, I probably said this to you. In some ways, I feel like it could happen in 5 years, and in some ways, not till 35 years. Like, it was just, I know Pop used to get very protective of me when teams would call and be like, well, do they really want to interview, or are they just doing this so they can get some clicks? And, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I know with each interview, I think you get a little bit better. You get more secure in who you are and your philosophies and what you're capable of. And there's no doubt in my mind that I could coach the men. And by the way, the problem was never with the players. It's with the decision makers and the other people. The players, they don't care if Kermit the Frog came in and told them. If that's going to help them win, they will listen. And I think being able to give players real time information that can help them on the spot, go out there and be successful, is really valued. And they know, spade recognizes a spade every time. And and
Well,
I think
again, I'm not to cut you off, but I still, if I'm going to Vegas, which I have a couple times, and I'm putting money on a person, and I still will say this, I think you are the one that's going to do that just because of your experience. And you always have to have an answer for questions that others aren't asked. Whenever you walk in and you're the only or the first, you always have to have extra answers, extra qualifications. And I think you meet all of those extra asterisks that they try to put on all of us, extra criteria, all that. Like, when I come to the table, I'll be honest, like, broadcasting, I can't just show up. Like, I gotta have facts. I gotta have facts. With those facts, I have to remember video and score and all of these things because of the extra criteria and extra standards that they have for women in this space.
Well, there's no doubt they're looking for check marks to check you off, not to push you in the door. And I think that perspective, um, first of all, it isn't helping move anything forward. Not because if you have that attitude in your work, you probably have it at home too. And so that's not very productive. And I think at the end of the day, you got to go out and hire the best person for the job, period. Now, we know we don't live in that world where, the most qualified person doesn't always get the job, but um, you do have to be better and you do have to have an answer. I remember one of the first interviews that I did after I took the San Antonio job the first time. And I think, you know, the locker room, like, did anybody ask Gino about the locker room? No. So why are you asking me? And I think when you start to flip the conversation and you flip the question around, people are like, oh yeah, it's a bad question, like, didn't think that one through. And it's like, yeah, because you're trying to catch me in these aha, like, okay, that's why you shouldn't be there, instead of looking for reasons that you should be there. And this guy, he was like, not from me, but another guy, another news reporter wrote him as like, Pop's pulling a stunt, blah, blah, blah. And those guys aren't going to listen to her unless they want to learn how to bake chocolate chip cookies. And he's like, how do you respond to a guy like that? And I was like, you tell him I make a hell of a chocolate chip cookie. Right. What that's the comment in question is so ignorant in itself, which I do actually make good chocolate chip cookies.
I've never
But
had your cookies, by the way, so I'm gonna need some. Just
Well, you
FYI.
probably had my mom's, the apple doesn't fall too far
Oh.
from the tree. But, some of the questions and the line of thinking, it's like, you're never gonna win those people over anyways. Like, let them stay in the hole that they're in, and you just gotta be about the truth, be about being who you are, and when the door is open for me, Candace, and it's the door I'm supposed to walk in, I'll walk through that door. But if I can't be me authentically 100% and all female walking through that door, then the door's not for me. And that's fine. And we keep it pushing and you just keep busting ass and hope that, the chips fall in the right place. But you're right. You do have to have an extra gear for sure.